So, have you ever heard of a book that claims to be a lost record from Moses, something that was hidden away for thousands of years? Well, that's exactly what we're unpacking today. It's a text called the Sealed Book of Moses and the incredible secrets it claims to hold. That's what this is all about.
I mean, really think about that for a second. A manuscript, supposedly sealed up by Moses himself, suddenly shows up in our time. What on earth could it possibly contain that was so important it had to be hidden away from the world? That's the big question that really drives this whole story.
And believe me, this text does not hold back. It claims this book contains a totally different history of humanity, a much deeper understanding of spiritual power, and even a prophecy for the end of the world. So let's dive in and see exactly what it says.
So where does this whole story even begin? Well, interestingly, it's not with Moses. We jump forward centuries later into ancient Jerusalem during a time of huge religious upheaval that perfectly sets the stage for a really dramatic discovery.
The story goes like this. During a restoration of the temple, the high priest stumbles upon a second scroll, one sealed with what looks like Moses's personal ring. But here's the kicker. When it's read to King Josiah, his reaction isn't joy or celebration, it's pure terror. He literally tears his clothes and demands to know what these awful prophecies are all about.
And right here in Josiah's desperate cry, we get the big reveal. The reason the book's prophecies were so terrifying was because they talked about a higher priesthood, a kind of spiritual authority and knowledge that his people had apparently lost and completely forgotten about, which had led them way off track.
Okay, so this idea of a higher priesthood is absolutely central to everything. And to explain it, the book hits the rewind button, taking us all the way back to the very beginning of everything, offering its own expanded version of creation and, the origin of evil itself. And this is where it gets really interesting. The name this text gives to the adversary is Ahia Rethus, which it says means brother of Jehovah. So he's not just some random evil being. He's portrayed as a super high-ranking angel who fell because of his own pride and became obsessed with destroying humanity's free will.
So after Ahai, who we now call Satan, tricks Adam and Eve, they lose their immortality. But the story doesn't just end there in tragedy. God immediately provides a path back, a kind of divine power and authority called the priesthood of the Son of God. And this priesthood becomes the main way to get salvation in this whole narrative.
And this concept of priesthood immediately kicks off a conflict that, according to the text, defines the rest of human history. It's framed as this cosmic war between two opposing spiritual orders, and it all starts with the very first two brothers.
The first battle in this spiritual war, you guessed it, the classic story of Cain and Abel. Abel's offering gets accepted because it follows a divine pattern, a sacrifice that points to a future redeemer. Cain's offering, though, comes from his own pride, and it gets rejected, which just pours fuel on the fire of his envy.
And this is where things take a really dark turn. In his rage, Cain supposedly makes a secret pact with Satan. By murdering his own brother, he establishes this counter-priesthood, the Order of Mahan, which uses murder and secrecy to get rich and powerful.
So you can see the contrast here, and it is stark. On one side, you've got a priesthood from God, focused on redemption through faith. And on the other, an order from Satan, focused on worldly gain through secret plots and violence. This cosmic struggle becomes the secret engine driving all of history.
All right, this brings us to the real heart of the whole book, the great mystery that was supposedly sealed away. This is the text's answer to the question of how someone actually uses divine power. Okay, so after all that, all the history, the conflict, the two priesthoods, what was the one piece of knowledge that was so critical it had to be hidden away? What was the actual key for using this higher priesthood? And the answer is, well, it's really unique. The key isn't some magic word or a secret ritual. It's the ability to channel pure divine feelings. The text argues that the name and the power of God are invoked internally, through your emotions and sentiments, not through your mouth. So what are these divine feelings? Well, according to the text, they're literally gifts that connect you to heaven. I mean, look at this list. It's all about your internal state. Charity or pure love is at the very top, but things like compassion, peace, and even enthusiasm are described as the actual tools you use to wield this power.
And of course, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? Feelings like fear, doubt, and envy are described as the adversary's tools, specifically designed to cut you off from God and make your priesthood totally powerless. And what's really interesting is that even pity is on this list, which the text calls a petty feeling compared to true compassion.
This quote right here just drives the whole point home. According to this text, a person could have all the authority, say all the right words, go through all the right motions, but without the matching feeling, in this case, compassion, the act is empty. It's powerless. Your internal state is what actually matters. So, what's the whole point of this? Where does this knowledge lead? Well, the text uses this huge secret to explain the story of the prophet Enoch and to lay out this grand prophecy about the ultimate destiny of the righteous. The prophet Enoch is basically presented as the guy who mastered these principles. He didn't just understand the secret of feelings, he taught an entire society how to live by it. By mastering their inner state, his people achieved perfect unity. They had one heart and one mind, and they completely eliminated poverty, creating a holy city they called Zion. And this right here, this is the great prophetic arc of the whole book. Enoch's perfect society was so righteous it was physically taken up into heaven. The knowledge of how they did it was then sealed up, meant to be revealed in the last days, so that a new Zion, a new Jerusalem, could be built on earth, preparing for that incredible day when the two cities would finally unite. And the text gives a really specific number for this incredible achievement. For 365 years, an entire city maintained this level of unity and purity, literally walking with God before they were taken from the earth. Which brings us right back to the beginning. If this book and its secrets were truly meant for our time, the text is essentially asking us a question. What's the message? Is it about a literal secret history, or is it maybe a symbolic guide, suggesting that the greatest power for change isn't in what we do externally, but in the mastery of our own hearts?